All right, everyone. So welcome to episode 9 of the Heart for Excellence podcast. Today we have a very special episode. We have Trevor as typical, but also we have a special guest, his lovely daughter, Jade. And I'm really looking forward to this episode in particular because I'm an aspiring parent myself. And so what I'm really hoping to get out of this episode is to learn how I can be a better parent in the future. If there's anything that I learned in my marriage is, in my first disastrous marriage, was the benefit of learning from other people. So thank you, Trevor, for this amazing opportunity. And I'm looking forward to sharing your wisdom, sharing your experiences, and be able to become a much better parent because of that.
Yeah, thanks, bud. This is a special episode for me as well. I didn't think we would be here if you would have asked us maybe 3 years ago. No way. It was a painful journey for Jade and I, and our other family members. I was married back in 1996 to Jade's mom, is when we said our vows and we went to the altar, we said our I do's, you know, until death do us part, and we make that commitment as a couple. I think the brokenness in our lives that we didn't realize that stems from our childhoods, we took into our marriage. And I think as we go through marriage without addressing the childhood hurts and injuries that we incur, it doesn't bode well for a healthy marriage because we're all thinking about self-survival. We try to do the right things and have a healthy marriage. But I think the broken parts of us that we didn't address injured our marriage, which in the end resulted in divorce.
Right.
I can say that I would presume for Jade's mom, she ultimately didn't want divorce. We didn't want divorce, and yet we ended up divorced. Unfortunately, collateral damage occurs when a divorce happens. And today we'll be talking about what are the injuries to the heart as a result of divorce to children. Mm-hmm. And really my hope is that if anybody's listening to this that's in that stage of contemplating divorce, and if you have something to say about it or to do, that this podcast will change that decision. The injuries that occur to our children in the midst of divorce aren't worth it. You can work it out if we address the injuries of our heart individually as a husband or a wife or a spouse. It's not worth it, but Jade has agreed to share some of her experience and some of the pains that she went through. And really, I would even presume still working through. And we're about 5 years removed from that, I think, roughly, maybe a little bit longer now. But it's lasting. So Jade, thank you for agreeing to be on the podcast with Merrick and I, Heart for Excellence. And really all we do is address the issues of the heart, the things that hold us back from achieving excellence in our future. And I know you've been on this journey of healing for quite some time. I've said earlier that we went through a spell roughly 1.5 years where we rarely communicated or talked. It was hard. It was painful. And what's interesting, there's a Christmas tree behind us, and Christmas time I hated. Like, I despised it. Up until now, it's probably the first Christmas where I actually feel at peace with Christmas.
Wow.
I haven't had, the kids, I don't know, last time I've had the kids for Christmas, to be honest with you, maybe 4 or 5 years. And so it was such a painful, lonely time. That was my pain. But you had your own pain. And I want, if you can, if you would, maybe share a little bit of your journey, like some of the deep injuries of your heart that took place over the last 5, 6, 7 years. From that. So if you can share.
Okay. Well, I'd say kind of like 6 months prior to when it was officially said that my parents were getting divorced.
Right.
It was kind of like apparent that it was kind of happening just because it was, of course they always had their arguments before, like what family doesn't. But it was kind of getting worse, and it was just kind of at the point where it's like, I was kind of just feeling confused because I was like, what's kind of happening here? Like, I know that there's issues, but it's like they're getting worse and worse, and I wasn't really sure. I was like, if things do happen, like what's going to happen to me? Like, what's going to happen to my sister? Because I was like, if they do end up being divorced, who am I going to live with? Like, where's my sister going to go? Where's my dog going to go?
Yeah.
Like, all that crazy stuff. And when we moved up to Washington in 7th grade, that's when it was kind of all starting, and it was all kind of big jumble because we had just moved there and there was family issues, and my dad wanted to move back. He had talked about moving back to Texas when we just came from there, and I was a little 7th grader who was like, we just left my friends, and it was for a year, and I was like, what's it gonna be when I get back? So it was kind of just a time I was like lost and confused, and I saw God there, and I was just kind of like, okay, God, like what's happening? Because I mean, I wasn't really sure, but it was just kind of like, okay, like what's happening? And then whenever they said like the divorce was final, it was sad, and I was sad about it, but in like kind of a way, I was just like, well, at least they're not pretending anymore, which I mean, that's kind of like sad in a way, but it's just like, I was like, well, now they're not gonna have any more fights, and it's gonna be like, it'll be better because I won't have to deal with that, and I didn't want to deal with that anymore just because like I couldn't fix it myself because it's their issues, but it was also affecting me and all that stuff. So when they said it, I was like, okay, like it is what it is, that sucks, but it is what it is. So they had done that, and so we still were all like living together as a family for a few months after that because we were trying to get everything situated, but it still kind of got brought up, and I was like, well, what's gonna happen to me? What's gonna happen to my sister? That same whole thing, because it was just this huge chaotic mess of nothing's really being said about it because who wants to talk about it? But there's also that like uncertainty about it. So as it got closer to the point where my sister was gonna go to college in Texas, she had finally decided that, and my dad was gonna go with her to go live in Texas. And so that left me and my mom and my dog. And I was at that point in my life where I was kind of just like really anxious a lot of the time, because I was like, okay, me and my mom are gonna have to sell the house because we can't afford it, and she doesn't have a job at the point, and I'm about to go to high school. So that's scary. So they ended up leaving, and I was sad because I had never lived without my sister before, and all of a sudden my family went from 4 to 2 in a way. And I was angry at my dad because he decided to leave with her, and I was just like, I felt abandoned just because he left and my mom didn't have a job or a house, and we didn't know where we were going. And so I was just kind of like, okay, he left us, he doesn't care. It's whatever. So at that point, I was kind of like, I remember just like thinking, and I was like, it's fine. All I need is God. And I was like, and I told myself, I was like, I'm going to harden my heart and I won't need anyone else. Which is so backwards.
You build the wall, right?
Which is so backwards from what I've learned now. But I was just like, yeah, I just need God, I'll harden my heart, and I don't need anyone else. Like, that's it. I don't want to rely on anyone else because all they do is hurt, right?
They keep failing you.
Yeah, like people disappoint you, which now I know it's true, but you shouldn't, like people always disappoint because we're human, and that's how it is. But you have God who is always reliable and is unconditional. He always loves you, but you should always be open to people and don't harden your heart because that's not the way to go. So yeah, as that went on, my mom and I we lived in a trailer park in an RV for a while, and then we lived in someone else's house, and then we ended up getting a house. So through all of that, it was I was kind of just like emotionally paused, I guess, just because like there's so many things happening that I was like, I can't worry about emotions right now because we need to focus on this, and this. We need to focus on school, on sports.
Execution.
Like just get it done there. And then this whole time I didn't talk to my dad just because I was super bitter and angry with him. And through this whole point, it ended up that I found out that he was in another relationship, and that was kind of the point where like it was like, okay, like, all the emotions came back, and it was just like pure like rage and fury.
Well, we need to put some time frame on this. So I wasn't in a relationship when I was married to Jade's mom. This was about a year removed, or 9 months. About 9 to 12 months removed. It wasn't when I was dating. It's after when I came to Texas. Is that right?
3 months after you left was when I found out you were talking to someone.
Actually, I wasn't. I can tell you that.
Okay, well, regardless of the timeline, he still was in a relationship at some point.
I did. It was within the first year after I left Washington.
I guess I would imagine that with your dad having another relationship that made it final, like your parents will never get back together.
Yeah, well, and like for me, that was just kind of like, okay, he's starting over his life. Who cares about me? And it was because I didn't talk to him.
Like your dad moved on.
Yeah, and I didn't talk to him, and he had tried to call me a few times, but it always ended up not going well. So I was like, whatever, he's living his own life, he's starting over, who cares? Like, that sucks. And I was like, it just like the start with someone else was kind of just like, okay, I'm left on my own.
Mm-hmm.
Survival.
Yeah.
Like, who cares? So, kind of went on, and then he came up for the next Christmas, the following Christmas, and then he had told me, my sister, that he was getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And that point, it was kind of just like, you know, my heart was kind of like, the wall kind of like cracked a little bit, like the hardness, just because it was like, no, like, this is crazy, my dad's getting married again, like, you know, because you always grow up and it's like, your parents, they are supposed to, you know, stay married forever, like,
Yeah,
we grew up in a Christian home, right? So it's kind of just like, what's divorce?
Yeah.
Like, you know, that's not a thing that happens to you, but it did. And then it's like to say like, oh, there's another person. It's like they're gonna have my last name.
Mm-hmm.
That was kind of weird, and just like the timing with it all, just because we were all still so hurting, I guess. It was all very fresh.
Yeah.
And at the point, like, I didn't care what my dad was thinking. I wasn't like, I didn't care for his perspective. I was just like, this is what I feel right now, and this is how it's affecting me and my sister. Because, you know, so, and at that point, my sister was home for Christmas, and like, I realized, because I at first was jealous of her because she got to go to college and kind of like not deal with like what I was going through. But then I realized that like she didn't really had the chance to deal with it, because she just went straight to college, and it's like, that's a whole new life.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was a bit crazy, and I was very furious and angry for a while, and I didn't have my friend. I had one friend who's really stuck with me through it all, but I kind of pushed a lot of people away because I didn't want people to know I was living in a trailer or didn't have a house, or so there was
trying to put up
yeah. And so it kind of went on like that for a while, and then eventually I kind of like started getting more like, we started talking again, we started working out our issues, and of course there's always like kind of relapses, I guess, where we like get back into that point where it's just like, no, like this is bad, like don't talk to me. But it took work, but we like slowly worked through it, and it happened mostly, I feel like, being honest with what hurt, like what the other person did that hurt the most, and just talking about that and working through it, and it was painful, but it slowly helped overall to mend it, I guess. So after that, we like kind of went on, and like school was going good, and then it was kind of like I still had this like hole, kind of, I guess, this empty feeling inside. And at first I was like, well, like maybe it's just because I need more friends, or maybe because I need like, maybe I need like a boyfriend or something. Like, I was like, there's just like this empty feeling, and I was left feeling lost, and I was like, maybe it's because I don't have like a whole family, I don't know. But then I kind of like, I was reading a book, and the main character like had read some Bible verse or something, and it kind of hit me, and I was just like, wow, I've like been like asking God for all this stuff, but like I've given nothing of myself to him in return. You know, it's like I've kind of given that half thing where it's like, hey God, how's it going? Like, can I have this? And not like, what can I do like to show, like help others see you?
It was a one-way road, yeah.
Yeah, so I kind of had this prayer, and it was just like, okay, like help me be a light, like, or like kind of like you work through me to be a light to others, because it's kind of just been like a dark place right now, and let me just like see the ways that like I can work in your like for you and stuff like that. And that's kind of the turning point when I was like, hey, like I can't control things because that never works out well. Yeah. So I kind of just like, hey, give it up to God. And yeah, and so yeah, I mean, still working through issues. Obviously, there's still that whole dynamic of step families, step siblings, and like my mom, and like she has a boyfriend too, so it's kind of like the whole like parents dating and remarriage, and where like I kind of fit in all that, but we're slowly getting there.
So what would you say, you know, the heart, I like what Proverbs says, that guard your heart above all else, for everything you do stems from it. What would you say the injuries to your heart looked like? How did it feel? What were those wounds?
You mean by what were how the feelings?
Yeah, like was there rejection? You talked about abandonment.
A lot of anger too.
Yeah.
And anger, like any other emotions, or what were you feeling? Like what did that feeling look like?
Well, I feel like the main ones were like just being scared because my family, like, you know, had just split up, and it's like, okay, there's that uncertainty, so it kind of is the anxiety and being scared of not knowing what's happening. And then there was the anger because I had felt abandoned, so it's like in order. And so I guess in result of that, I was very closed off to people. And I wanted to like be strong because I just need mom. So I was like, hey, like whatever she needs, I'm gonna help her out. So and then then whenever I did felt like the anger rage, then it kind of like come out, like the
so
deeper
you would
emotions.
stuff it down
Yeah.
until it kind of boiled over.
Yeah, because I was like, hey, we're focusing on this, and this now.
Yeah.
But then it'd be like, there'd be something to trigger it, like something like that. So then it'd kind of just come up, and then
You take it out on that person.
yeah.
So what were some of the things that helped begin the process or the journey of healing in your heart to where we're actually sitting here today, and we go on dates and we have fun? How are we here today?
I kind of just had to realize, I don't know, first of all, it was the God thing where it's just like, okay, like, I'm not in control, and I'm never going to be in control, and the more I try to control it, it's not going to work. So it's kind of just like, hey, God, what do you want me to do? And then I think forgiveness was the huge thing, just because working towards forgiveness was hard, but it was kind of like little things by little, is like working like towards communicating and understanding what was happening. And then it's like knowing the difference. It's like forgiving someone isn't letting them win, because like I kind of had the aspect of like, no, I'm not letting like him win, I'm not letting him like get the final say or whatever. But it's like forgiveness isn't about who wins or anything like that, because no one really does. It's just a matter of like working through your issues and like, okay, like forgiveness, it's tough, but it's tough for a reason, because it helps people. So yeah.
What was part of the things, or some of the things that helped you to get to that point of forgiveness?
I don't know, just like talking through it, and
Because we had some pretty painful conversations, even in this journey to being here today. And quite often, a lot of times it was filtered through the wounds of our heart. So we were looking maybe sometimes at the same things, but feeling it, interpreting it through the injuries that we experienced. Is that fair to say?
yeah.
And then after we really, I can say that Jade did such a good job of being courageous and risking vulnerability and wounds and rejection that she talked about.
But what did it look like? Did she like just express those feelings to you?
We both worked really hard at trying to figure out, how do we recover from it? How do we heal from this? I don't think there was a part where she hated me. Maybe there was. She was that close. And I was getting frustrated. I had my own mess. Like she said, we were married for 20 years, her mom and I, and then all of a sudden we were going to church pretty much every Sunday, raised in a Christian home, and God hates divorce, and then all of a sudden, we're divorced.
You're that statistic.
We were blown up, right? But we were both committed, as painful as it was.
It's kind of just like not being defensive. Because like whenever we talk, it's like you immediately want to defend yourself, or like I'd want to defend my mom. Because like we try to talk about the divorce, and I'd be like, no, well she did, like, it's like that immediate defense of like, you're attacking me, don't. But you kind of just have to be like, okay, no, like don't, like listen to what they're saying, and then take a breath, and then think about what they said, and be like, how are they meaning to say it, not how you feel they're saying it. Like,
wow, that's so mature. How old are you right now?
18.
Wow, it didn't take me till 30 something to make that. That is very mature.
That was, I think, the biggest thing for me, was not immediately going on defense mode.
But we really wrestled through trying to have conversations and not quitting. I think a lot of people quit in the midst of their pain because I don't want to address my pain. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want to go back there. I'm done.
Yeah.
And they're ultimately done.
Because your mind doesn't see a way.
Yeah, and we keep carrying that pain around. But by the grace of God and Jade's, just her determination and tenacity, we got to keep working this out. At the end of the day, we do love each other, and I think the pain is only evidence that we loved each other. If she didn't care about me, if I didn't care about her, well, whatever, see you later. Yeah. And we move on, right? But the reality is that we did care about each other, and she didn't give up, and we kept figuring out, how do we talk to each other? Yeah. How do I understand where she's coming from in her heart? And she did the same. Like, she really painstakingly stayed with the process. Now, we had to take breaks here and there throughout the last number of years, but to try to understand the hurt from each other's perspective. And I think that was a good healing point in our relationship, and points in our relationship as we kept going down this road and on this journey of man, I didn't see it this way. I didn't understand that you felt this way and that it felt like this way to you. And Jay would graciously try to understand my pain as well, and how we ended up where we did. So we've just got a couple minutes left, sweetie. But if you can maybe just share where you're at today, where your heart is today, and where you want to be in the future with your heart.
Okay. Well, it's obviously better than it was a few years ago.
Congratulations.
It's not, definitely there's not that anger inside. I mean, there's probably maybe some like sadness still there just because it's like divorce isn't meant to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, now it's kind of like healing, I guess, because we can have, I mean, we're here and like we can have normal conversations and we can do normal stuff. And if we, like, there's something that like still like I don't agree with that we talk about, or like it's still, it's not, I don't know, yeah, something we agree
Still
with.
sensitive.
Yeah. I feel like we're still able to talk about it, and if not, it's like, okay, like, deep breath, and it's like, I've kind of learned that process of like taking a step back and not jumping immediately to arguments. So that's been, I think that's been helpful, like not only in this, but like in life in general, like not to immediately just like go to anger as a first outlet, I guess. And I guess just continuing, because like the school I'm going to now is really great just because it's helped me have more relationship with God, I feel like, which is super, super important, just because it's like, okay, like he's always there for me. I don't have to be alone, and he's always there, and I know my family loves me. So yeah, going into the future, I just say like keep pursuing that relationship with God and not giving up on my relationship with my family. And yeah.
What do you want our listeners to know as we just wind this down now? About those that are considering divorce, or kids that are going through or observing divorce with their parents?
Well, it's never easy. That, and especially, I guess for like kids, I guess just know that it's not your fault, and there's nothing that you can do about it. Ultimately, it's up to your parents, and it's not your responsibility.
Right.
Even though it may feel like it. So, and then to the parents, I guess know that sometimes your kids do feel responsible. So maybe talk to them about it and be like, listen, this isn't yours. We like both the parents still love you, like regardless of what happens. And I think it's really important to talk to someone that's not like immediately related to the situation.
Objective observer.
Yeah, like a mentor or something, to just so you can talk to them about it and feel safe, because no matter how much your parents don't want to, they're gonna have a little bit of bias towards the other, like, disagreeing with the other parent. So you're gonna get that, because I had that feeling of like I'm stuck in the middle.
You have to pick sides.
So having that mentor is just really nice, so you can talk to them and they're really there for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much, Jade, for your openness. Really appreciate it. Trevor, thank you for this opportunity. And we're gonna end it over here. We're gonna have another episode coming up to pick up on the things we talked about here. And so for now, God bless, guys, and talk to you soon.
Yeah, thank you.